In this video we'll figure out about Duke's rims, actually about the whole wheel set as well. SLS Ultra rim, 28mm internal width. It weighs 290 grams, but let's not forget that it has some missing carbon pieces. We will cover everything from what I have now from Duke's as well as what has happened here. Currently on the rear it's SLS 3 Ultra jacks. The lightest at the time they had been when I made the purchase. It's 28 internal width diameter with asymmetric profile and Sapim spokes, ray bladed black, 2.4 tire mounted on the rim. How much it weighs? The tire of Wolfpack Speed weighs around 650 grams. The rear wheel with XTR cassette plus 160mm rotor and 240 Swiss hubs, 1810 grams, which is pretty good weight considering that we have not the lightest tires on the rim as well. And the front also Duke, not Ultra, so it's 6ers rim and it's 30mm internal. Yeah, so 1510 grams with 180mm as well as DT Swiss 240 and Garmin speed sensor on the hub. How I decided to go with Duke's wheels, what I like the most in their two bike is that you get very clear and straightforward selection of options in their website, so that kind of simplified the choosing process. In the beginning I went with 28 internal width for both front and rear. About 1 month after, this one backfired at me. Nasty crash over the bars thing after the landing. During the drop from the feature, the rim cracked at the landing moment. The air came out from the tire immediately and then I was coasting towards the fallen tree, which with the empty rim just hit it, and that's the result. Keep in mind that it was the front wheel which normally receives a bit less stress than the rear one. My first impression was that maybe rider and bike weight was too close to the limit. For that reason, when I made crash replacement, I chose 30mm internal width. It's no longer Ultra and I decided that better a few grams more, but make sure that it does not happen for me again. A bit of an update. I've been praising those wheels. Front 6ers, SLS 3, Lucky Jack, 30mm internal width, worked great for a year. Now it has a massive crack out there throughout the whole width. Thankfully I noticed it at the right time, not when it was the terminal damage but before that, so that was good. The reason being I'm removing the tape in case if you have this type of issue with Duke's wheels. The model and the product code is hidden under the tape. To claim the warranty you will have to remove it from the wheel. So I just want to see how that crack looks from the inside. I've been participating in Costa Blanca bike race, a lot of rocks, a lot of stones. But actually I didn't receive or at least noticed any terminal hit, so that's where I was surprised noticing that. So it's not visible through there, it's only from the outside. I am not going to ride it any more longer. And there's another code here. Nonetheless, it will be yet another warranty claim. Probably it will end up not as a warranty claim, but crash replacement for some reduced amount of cost. Nonetheless, Duke's wheels work great, no longer works. However, the rear wheel lasted for a whole season and a half. It's been in many places as I mentioned in previous videos and it still works perfectly. Finally, once I covered those topics about Duke's rims, I will be able to throw this away. Now we can go back to fundamental of things. So first, make sure to check the maximum allowed weight for the setup, so don't go around the limit, just leave yourself a bit of a margin. Even though I completely survived 1 season and a half on that Ultra wheel where my and bike weight as well as the gear is 92-93 kilograms, where it's allowed to go up to 95 kilograms on this rim setup. As you might have guessed it, going ultralight can have consequences for you, so if you want to take that risk, go for it. Otherwise, I would just suggest you to go with the rims which has more maximum allowed weight. Now, in terms of the rim width, I would strongly suggest you to go at the rear with slightly less narrow. Even though the first wheel set I bought from Scope was 24.5 because I didn't know what I was doing. It was fine for marathon races, it was actually very great for marathons, but then it comes to XC, it was not so great. Anyways, what I want to show you is the difference of tire width. I'm going to compare 30mm internal width with 2.4 tire, as well as 28 with 2.4 tires. So it's 62.25 on 30mm internal width. The amount tire volume expands on this type of rim, and here we also have 2.4 tires. They are mounted on 28 internal width diameter, 60.40. That gives us 2mm difference at the amount the tire expands into width. Why that's important? You can go at the same width tires at front and the rear, and the rear will be already a bit smaller. Important thing to mention is that I chosen one of the most expensive spokes which were available, and it's a PIM CX ray bladed. I can't recommend them enough to apply on your bikes. Of course, maybe others would last as well, but even after such failure, none of them got broken completely. At the worst, they were only bent. I can't recommend them enough. Now, about the Duke rims itself, if you go to the Duke racing wheels, there are plenty of options. If we are considering XC version of rims, they released the new updated version of SLS 4. They are slightly lighter than SLS 3. They are like 150 euros or even more expensive. So you can choose those by your budget. One other thing which comes into place when we're talking about ultra light wheel sets is that usually they have limited pressure you can put into the tires. For example, when you are sealing the rims, you should be aware not to put 3 bars, for example, because Dukes are like 2.4, 2.6 at the maximum bars allowed. So if you put more, you can cause micro fractures, and then you might have some other problems. Was I happy with DT Swiss 240 hubs? At the rear, for some reason, bearings get busted quite fast. Now I just changed them and they are just perfect. The rear DT Swiss uses 1.526 bearings type, while at the front it's 1.7 something. Front bearings last significantly better, maybe because they are bigger, maybe because they receive less stress, but the front is just perfect. The rear is like 3,000 kilometers or so in varying conditions, and they are just busted. During the season I changed the bearings only once, but there was significant difference once I changed them, and I went in similar downhill, which I've been doing multiple times. You can feel that it's going faster, and it's not placebo, it really is. Always make sure to properly maintain your wheel bearings if you want to go fast. And last thing to mention, why it's nicer to have carbon wheels. Apart from the fact that they are lighter, they just accelerate faster. That's the main difference where it comes to performance. If you accelerate faster, you for the same amount of time receive less fatigue, then it compounds during the race distance or just casual riding, and in the end of the day, what you could have ridden with this amount of required effort, you need this one with casual aluminum wheels. Trust me, it just makes a difference. For literally any bike, if you switch from aluminum heavy wheels to something like half kilogram less in the wheel set, you will see such a huge difference that you would be hardly imagine. Is it placebo or not? You can let me know once you buy. Whether it will be Dukes or not, it doesn't make a difference, but just make sure that you are choosing quality components, and whether you will go with Chinese stuff or not, it's up to you and your budget and the risk you want to take. That said, if you have any questions about Duke wheels, let me know in the comments.